Welcome to Books versus Movies. I'm Yuvia, an actress and book lover based out of New York City, and today I'm really excited. I have Orlando. He's done a few episodes with me, and I also have Rick London here, and we are here to talk to Rick a little bit about his book and possibly how he would approach adapting it if it ever got to the adaptation stage. So welcome, Rick.
Thank you.
So
Thank you for having me, Luvia.
Of course, you're welcome. So, why don't we start off by just tell us a little bit about your book?
Sure. So my book is called The Dancing Wolfman. It's a it's not so much a horror book. It's not really a horror book at all. It's a paranormal romantasy. That's how it's got labeled the genre. So it's a paranormal romantasy, adventure thriller, as I like to call it. So it's about a guy, and it's based here in the Bay Area because most werewolf stories are like in London or somewhere. That's why I chose the name Rick London to pay respect to England, where the werewolf story became famous. So it's based here in the San Francisco Bay Area in a county up north from San Francisco. It's about a guy, Titus Wolfe, who's ironically I gave him Wolf as the last name too, right? Who becomes a wolf man. So he's a high school music teacher and by day, and then a DJ by night. Music's been in his blood since he was a baby. His parents are in the music industry and they've always played music. He learned how to dance from his parents and his friends, and I got that all in the book. And and music is like embedded deep in his soul. So when he meets this wolfman and he gets bitten and he becomes a wolfman, of course he doesn't know what's going to happen, and as he gets ready for his first transformation, from all the movies he's seen and all the stories that he's read, he's terrified because he's going to become a killer. So he's hoping that his love for music will help him with something, would help him not be this vicious killer that he's about to become. So just to give you guys a snippet, and then I'll leave it at that. So his first transformation, because this is key. He's about to kill his first victim, and it's a lady jogging in the woods. And because his senses are heightened from being a wolfman, he hears music playing in her iPods, right? She's jogging and she's listening to music from her iPhone, and or whatever phone she has. So he hears her music, and it slowly transforms his consciousness back to who he is. So music helps him control his wolfman primal instincts to become a killer. So instead of becoming a killer, he becomes a savior, and that's pretty much the gist of the story. As he goes through all his transformations, music is what helps him control those instincts to kill, and instead, because a protector, he's a savior because he's not a killer. He's a music teacher. He's never been in combat. He wasn't in the military. He's never killed before. So his natural instinct is to he's a teacher, right? To protect and to save. So that's pretty much the gist of the book. And then the rest you guys will have to read.
Oh, I like that. Orlando really loves like Wolfman and like just the whole horror. I know you said your book doesn't necessarily fall into the horror category, but Orlando.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I absolutely love cryptids, Wolfman, Dogman, Mothman, all of that fascinating stuff. So I'm really intrigued by the plot of the story. A couple of things. I love that idea that music is what kind of brings his consciousness back. I think that is a very fascinating idea. How did you come about that thought or that plan?
Thank you. That's a great question. Been asked that before, and what it is when I was coming up with the story, and I'm like, oh, I'm a write a Wolfman story, but I didn't want to write another normal, another Wolfman story, right? Because they end the same, right? Uh, they're pretty similar in the arc that it takes, right? They become a Wolfman, becomes a killer, then he becomes hunted, then dies at the end. I didn't want none of those things in my story, so I had to find a gimmick. I had to find a different angle for the story So I'm like, man, how am I going to make this different? So this was like about a year ago in March, April, May. My son, I have a 16-year-old son. At that time, he was 15, and he was taking a music class at high school. And so one of his real good friends was a trombone player. So my son decided to try the trombone. And he brought the case home of the trombone, and he left it on this back wall in my house. And as I'm thinking of the story, I kept looking at that wall, kept looking at the trombone, and I'm like, then it just clicked, right? The light came on, and I'm like, hey, you know what, music, let me incorporate music in the story. But it didn't come right away. I had to think about it. I started writing ideas about how music can help them, and then it just over about a span of a week or something, I decided, it's like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna make this guy a high school music teacher and a DJ, and then have music, transform his consciousness back to who he is when he's a wolfman. And so I wanted something totally different, and I had to come up with a different, I had to come up with a different gimmick because I wanted to be a different wolfman story. And I love wolfman stories, just like you. I don't know if either of you have ever seen a movie called An American Werewolf in London.
I haven't.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Yeah, great movie. Right? One of my favorites.
Yeah, I love that movie. And and so I didn't want it to become that vicious, wolfman story. I wanted something different. I still want him to be a wolfman and look, menacing, but inside he's still Titus Wolfe. He's still, the person who he is, and because of who he is, the people that he meets instead of killing them, he saves them. And then later on in the story, they save him too. So they become interconnected. And I just wanted just a different angle on the Wolfman story. That was it. So trombone. Thank you to the trombone, right?
That's awesome because I know I've also seen and heard about studies of people with dementia, how music kind of just brings their brain back, even for a split second. So I thought that was really a fascinating approach. So that's really excited that trombone put you in that direction.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, music is powerful in so many ways, right? It brings us joy, happiness, sadness. Brings all these memories of good memories and bad memories, right? Exes of ex-boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, right? But I think overall, it's like music is just it's magical, right? And so that was my thought, right? It's magical. I gotta do something different here. So.
Yeah, no, I love that, and I also love that you took such a different direction with the Wolfman storyline. So when you had mentioned to me that early readers of your book kind of already had ideas of who they envision as the actor that's playing Titus Wolfe in the adaptation, if it were ever to happen. And who's the actor that most people envision?
Well, they got so many different ones. So my hope is that it does get adapted. I'm gonna work hard in the rest of the year to again, I had mentioned to get an agent who also could help me get this to be met with the right people to get adapted. But one of the early, Aaron Taylor Johnson would be a great Wolfman, and he's British, right? But he can do a real English. He can do an American accent real well. And I love him. I love it. He's become a real good actor, right? And he's about at the right age that my Titus Wolfman is, mid 30s. I think he would be a great Wolfman. To me, that would be my number one. I don't want, if I had a choice, I don't want it to be an A-list actor. I want his supporting cast to be A-list actors, right? Because that's what draw people in, right? I want, just to give you guys another little snippet, and this is the last one, that first encounter, the lady that he doesn't kill, that becomes his love interest. Her name is Nicole Santoro in the book. And so Nicole, I would also have as like a B actress. I can't think of who would be. There's so many good actresses right now. I haven't thought of who would be, but Titus for sure. Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think would be perfect. And then have have the other main, the supporting characters to be the B list, because then that's what attracts people. I was talking about something like this with on a similar podcast, another podcast, and they asked me the same thing, and I'm like, I brought up Star Wars, right? When I was a kid, I loved Star Wars, and when Star Wars came out, none of those guys were A-list actors, right?
Right.
1977. Harrison Ford had done a few movies. Carrie Fisher had done a few movies. Mark Hamill, but none of them were, A-list. Nobody really knew about them. And Star Wars came out, boom, it exploded, right? And all of a sudden, those guys, they became famous, right? Especially Harrison Ford, right? So, yeah, there's so many good actors right now. And a lot of times, even though I might have an actor, if it gets adapted, they're gonna have their own, say in who they want to do, right? Based on it's always based on money and availability and all that stuff. So, but my main character, definitely Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think would be the perfect wolf.
I love that. I think Aaron Taylor Johnson's a great actor, so that's a great choice. And I also love that. I also love that you said that you don't necessarily want your lead actors to be like A-list celebrities. Just as someone who is an actor themselves, like, I appreciate that, because it just seems like we're seeing the same 5 actors over and over in every single project, and that doesn't mean that they don't deserve to be there, but it's also like we're just not being introduced to new talent the way we used to be. So, I mean, I love that your book would be getting a boost in the spotlight, and then someone who maybe needs more of a little boost than an A-list celebrity does would also be getting it.
Agreed. And a lot of times, there's a lot of hungry actors out there, and they're very talented, and they just need the right, script to come along, the right thing. And how many times has that happened over the years, right? People hearing her, and then they get this movie, and then the movie, of course, has to be well directed, great script, great producers, all that, right? It's a combination, but that's all it takes, right? It just takes one movie role, and then bingo, then people get to know you, and they see your acting talent, right? Because there's a lot of talent, and a lot of talented actors are not just in Hollywood. They're everywhere, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I would definitely, that's the route I would go, even with the main 3 characters in my book are Titus, Nicole, and then somebody else who comes in later who looks like an antagonist, but something happens there. And even that person I would want as like, a B-list actor, and then the rest of everybody, to be the A-list actors, of course, right?
Yeah. No, I love that. So if this were to get adapted, how would you want to be it? And it is a little bit tricky, just because when the rights to a book get bought, there's so many stipulations. So, but would you hope that you would get to be very involved in the process, or would you be okay with selling the rights and stepping back a little bit? Or I mean, how involved would you like to be?
Oh, I've never been on a movie set. Never been part of that. I would definitely stipulate that I don't have to necessarily be part of the writing process, but let me be involved in the movie in terms of just being present, right? And making sure that again, not being part of the writing team or the writer, but making sure that they follow, the arc of the story, right? That it doesn't get, because how many books, there's so many books, right? They turn into movies, and then the movie's totally different from the book, right? And so I would definitely want to be involved in that sense. because I don't have the experience, in screenplay writing or anything like that. I'm sure I wouldn't, be involved in that. But to be part of the process as a like a consultant, consultant head, right? I would definitely be part of, and to just be part of that, be part of that movie, on the movie set, right? Be around the actors, the director, the screenwriter, the cinematographer, the production team, everything. That would be such an awesome experience, So yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I had a question. I feel one of the things that we've discovered just basically in doing this podcast and seeing the adaptation go from book or movie, are there things from the book that you feel like have to happen, cannot change? And are there things that you anticipate would need to change a little, just to fit the film media?
I would like it if at all possible to stick to the story, the whole story, because I think I wrote a good story. But I'm also not experienced in screenplay writing and movie adaptations, so I would be open, to to the how the producers how they view it, because a lot of times, you know, I've read stuff about movie adaptations. They'll take a book, but they'll change it to fit into what what people want, and then they do. What is that? What are those groups called? They get people to come into a group. They get paid to talk about a movie. What is that called? Focus groups, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
They do a lot. They do a lot of that with movies, right? A lot of movies they do a lot of focus groups with like an industry types, right? And then they determine from that they'll determine what way they want to go with the movie, and because they're trying, because they got a lot invested, right? The money they want to make their money back. Um, so I would be open. I wouldn't necessarily, be adamant that they strictly have to follow it, but like the key parts of the book, the transformations and what happens from that, and who he needs and all. I would definitely want to keep that, but other parts of the story, yeah, I'd be open. As long as it works and it's and again, they're more experienced than I. I mean, their idea is to make you could enhance the whole story of the book, right? I would definitely be open to that. Yeah, because I don't know everything and I don't see everything, right? And,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't go into something you've never done and say, oh no, it's got to be this way. Then it's like, see ya, we don't want to talk to you, right?
Right. So is there, and it's totally okay if you can't say, because I know that let's all read the book, everyone. So we want to make sure that people read the book. But is there any moment in the book, if you would like to share, and again, I understand if you don't, so that we're motivated to go out there and read it. But is there a moment in the book that you would be particularly excited to see lifted from the page and onto the screen?
Yeah, I'll share about it. I don't mind, because that a lot of times you give people an idea and then they'll have to go read it. But to me, it's the third transformation, and this guy's name is Everett King. He's a rancher, and he's gonna hunt Titus because he's killed two of his goats in the previous two transformations. So this is my favorite part of the book too. So I don't mind sharing it. But at the moment where they come, where they confront each other, um, Nicole's right there too, and uh, Everett's about to kill him, and Nicole interferes and throws her phone at him, makes him stumble, and he falls over a cliff. And then Nicole comes up to Titus, and they hug, but they hear a noise, and they hear a moan, and then they go look over the cliff, and Everett's hanging. His life is hanging, right there. He's holding onto a rock that's jutting out of the cliff there, and right there and then, Titus decides, as the Wolfman, he goes down, and Everett thinks he's gonna get thrown off the cliff, that he's just gonna throw him, right? But instead, Titus grabs him by the arm and throws him over the ridge, and then suddenly, as he's stumbling backwards and rolling, Titus is right on him, and he's walking on all fours like a wolf, and he's right there in his face with, with those glowing eyes, the mouth, the saliva coming out, that growl, that wolfman growl, and then Everett thinks that he threw him over just to tear him to pieces, and he's right there, right in his face, and then he steps back and he shows him mercy, and that's right there the gist of the book, right? He shows him mercy, and because he did that, Everett becomes his ally. He saves him, right? Because he's not a killer. He doesn't have that instinct to kill, but he does scare the hell out of him, right? Because he's a wolfman, but because who he is, he spares his life. He shows him mercy and he steps back, and because of that, Everett is kind of astonished, and that's how he becomes his ally. And right there, then after that part, Titus, Nicole, and Everett, they're intertwined. They're the big part of the story. So that's my favorite part of the book right there. I really love that part.
Awesome. I mean, then that sounds really cool. Like even just you describing it, I'm like, yeah, I can see that. So I'm curious too, like these visions that you have, so how it look. Is there a director that you would love to direct your to adapt your book to movie?
The Oscars just happened a month ago, right? I love Sinners. Did you guys see Sinners?
Oh, yes.
I love that.
So good.
Movie, right? Ryan Coogler, man, that guy, he's from Oakland. I'm in San Francisco. That guy's from just across the bay. He's such my God, that guy's such a talented director. I would love him to be the director. You know what I mean? Because he's young, he's a visionary. My opinion is that movie should have won Best Picture. To me, I like that movie better than what was it? One Battle After Another. I really like that movie, but I like Sinners even more. And yeah, Ryan Coogler, he's like he would be my ideal director. But he costs a lot of money.
Yes.
Yeah. But you know what? You get what you paid for, right? If you get top talent, and he knows almost every movie he makes now is they're hits, right? Because that guy's so talented. And you know what? I heard a podcast, the Amy Poehler podcast. Is called Good Hang, right? Mm-hmm. Amy Poehler podcast, and she had him on there, and they talked about, he talked about so many things. And one of the things that he's really known for is he collaborates with everybody. He gets everybody involved. He just doesn't give orders. He doesn't bark orders. He has all the actors, everybody, the cinematographer. He takes everybody's ideas and puts it into the movie. I mean, how awesome is that, right?
Yeah.
That's a great choice.
He also makes music such an important theme to his movies. Yeah. So I think that seems like a perfect choice, yeah.
He would be perfect. What do you mean he'd be perfect? Yeah, he'd be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, great choice. I agree. I also think Sinners should have won, but I don't know. That's just the humble opinion of three people talking on a podcast right now. So I really, as you mentioned, I really love the concept of the music, and I love that you got the idea from your son's trombone playing. I was in marching band in high school, so I have a soft spot for, marching band and just students that take music classes in general. Are there any other moments that were drawn from your family or your friends that you wanted to incorporate into the story as well?
Not so much family or friends. It's more of the stories that I've read. I'm an avid reader. I love. I post that on my website, right? I have a website, my author website, book website, dancingwolfeman.com, with an E, after Wolf. And on there, I have a little bio. And I'm an avid reader. I love. I've been reading since like I was 8 or 9. And as I become an adult, I even read more. But I love hard-boiled detective novels. I love murder mysteries. Agatha Christie as I grew up. And then later on, I got introduced to Michael Connelly. Um, he's written like over 30 books. His main character is Harry Bosch, right? A hard-boiled detective in LA. And they adapted that story into a series on Amazon, right? Called Bosch. And the actor who played him, I thought is the perfect Harry Bosch. And his name is Titus Wolfe. That's actually, that's where I chose my name for him, because I love that actor. Him and then also from Titus Andronicus, right? Shakespeare, right? So to me, it's like, oh, I had to get a name for my character, so I got it from there. And then, so I love Michael Connelly, and then another one is a couple more. One of them is Jonathan Kellerman, who also writes about this child psychologist who helps his best friend, who's a cop, and they come up against these vicious killers, right, in LA. And then what was the other one? Lee Child, right? Jack Reacher, another one that got adapted to Amazon. Ex military police guy who's wandering the land, coming up against super bad guys. So, and then a lot of other stories, and I took that and how they present, the clues and how they develop the characters, and and a lot of their stories, the bad guy's right in front of them, right? And I love that, right? It's like the bad guy's right in front, and you don't think it's the bad guy, right? And it's boom. Then later on, you're like, oh Jesus, how come I didn't see that? I didn't see that because he hit it so well because of his his great writing. And so I just took that, I took that little thing. It's funny. That's a great question. I never thought about my family life or my friends when I was thinking about the book. It just came to me from all the stories that I read.
Yeah.
And I've read some horror, but not too much horror. Again, I'm not a big horror fan. I watch good horror movies in there. Horror books, I've read a few here and there, but I just love spy thrillers, mystery thrillers, detective novels. I love that stuff. So I think that's where all my idea for the book came from. That's just all in there, right?
Yeah. No, that's great. So thank you for being here. We loved having you. To make sure that people can follow you or buy your book, can you let everyone know where we can buy your book, where we can read it, if you have social media or anything where people can follow you, all that information?
Sure. I'm on X, Rick London 1964. I'm on Facebook also, Rick London 1964. Instagram, I haven't set that up yet. And then I have my website, which is just Dancing Wolfman, but Wolf with an E because of my Titus's last name is Wolf with an E. DancingWolfman.com. And actually on my website, there's a link on there that you could, it'll take you to Amazon. You could buy the book on Amazon. However, Amazon has issues. If you have a Prime account, you will not be able to buy the hardcover or the paperback. You would have to have just a regular Amazon account. So it's also available at other sites like Thrift Books, Barnes and Noble, Apple Books. Like I have it like on 16 different sites. If you just Google it, it'll ask you, did you mean Dancing Wolfman with an E? And you click on that, and it'll give you a list of where you can buy it. But you can go on my website, and again, take it to Amazon. But again, you have to have a regular Amazon account to get it. And it's also available on Kindle. There's a lot of Kindle readers. I have a Kindle myself. So if you like reading books, electronic versions, the ebook is available as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We really enjoyed having you. Is there anything else you would like to say really quickly before we sign off and say goodbye to everyone?
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me. I'm glad we talked about it in the movie sense. It's like that's good. And again, I'm working hard on getting an agent. I'm preparing preparing a lot of outlining my ways to get an agent, and I plan to get my book adapted. That's my hope, because I think it's a great story to for a movie. But with anything in life, right? It's all about timing and being at the right place at the right time and having good people, follow you. A lot of times, I could do a bunch of stuff, but it's just a matter of being exposed to the right people, and hopefully, somebody will hear this podcast, listen to it, or view it, or some other one, and it might be a start of a good thing. So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And definitely wish you the best, and hopefully we do get to see this on the big screen. Because it sounds amazing. Werewolves in the Bay Area, that sounds cool. That just sounds really cool, and especially throw in music. It sounds like it'll be an exciting, fun time to watch. A great movie experience.
I hope so too. Yeah, I think it will be, right. San Francisco. I don't know if either of you been to San Francisco. It's a great place to live. It's beautiful here. Great. The landscape is beautiful. Got the Golden Gate Bridge. Got the fog. It's just gorgeous here. So yeah, I think it would be a great setting.
I think so too. And yes, San Francisco is beautiful. I haven't been there in a few years, but yes, it's absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today. And be sure to go buy Rick's book on Amazon or any of the other websites he mentioned, or you can go to his website, dancingwolfeman.com. And yeah, be sure to read his book, check it out. And that way, when it hits the big screen at some point in the future, you've already read it. Thank you so much.
You guys are awesome. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.